Good evening and welcome to tonight's board meeting. Let the record show that we do have 4 board members here in person and 1 here electronically. Mrs. Sagata-Jones, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Yes, we do. We would like to move 5A, health metrics. I apologize for not putting that on the agenda up front at the beginning. At the last board meeting, Mr. Martinez and we agreed with the board that we would give the update of the health metrics at the beginning of the meeting. So we would like to do that.
Thank you. Do we have an adoption of the agenda with that change?
I don't have my phone on. I move to adopt the agenda with the change stated.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Ms. Smith?
Oh, Mrs. Smith.
Hey, what about me?
I do apologize, Mrs. Smith.
Aye.
Thank you, and I apologize. Motion passes. If you'll all join me in a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, the governing board will consider going into executive session. We would need to recess at this point.
First we want to go to 5A,
Oh,
Madam
I apologize.
President.
We made that change.
You ready?
So at this time, Madam President, members of the board, we will turn it over to Dr. Louis Lafitte, and he will give us the latest GSD health benchmarks as they were posted this morning by Maricopa County Health Department.
Thank you, Ms. Sagata-Jones, Superintendent Sagata-Jones. Madam Chair, members of the board, in front of you, you have the updated GESD reopening dashboard metrics. And if you'll notice, in those 3 areas that we look at, we've seen a significant decrease in the cases per 100,000. The number moved from 47 to 28. The percent positivity is the number that we've really been looking at because we want to make sure that that number starts to move under 7% for 2 consecutive weeks. So as you notice, it's moved under or below the 7%. It's at 6.4. So now we need 1 more week of that below 7% in order for us to be able to move into a hybrid model. Okay. Any questions? So if you were to look at it, and I did it backwards then, my fault. So the previous slide showed those new numbers. So on this slide, which shows our numbers as well as Glendale Union and our surrounding districts, you'll notice that us and Glendale Union, there was a decrease in both of those areas. So in the area of cases per 100,000, we've seen a decrease. Glendale Union saw a decrease as well, also in the percent positivity. We did notice that several of our surrounding districts, the first 3 there, Alhambra, Cartwright, and Pendergast, did see an increase in those same areas that we saw a decrease.
I have a question. Are we, because I know this is our surrounding areas, but just out of curiosity, are we watching other K-8 districts that started out way lower than us to see what is happening since they've reopened to in-person students?
Yes, Madam Chair, Ms. Bartels. So what we've been looking at is all of those numbers, trying to determine if there are other trends and patterns. Those districts that have started, trying to see if they've seen spikes in their numbers as well, just to try to get an indicator of what that potentially could mean for us as we make decisions moving forward.
Because have any of these guys gone to in-person instruction yet?
No.
Okay.
I think
The ones, well, let me go back to that. Not the red ones, no. The Cartwright, Pendergast, and Alhambra have not opened. The ones that have, Peoria started, I believe, this week, and Washington has not. So Peoria began with their model. They brought in by grade level, for example, 1 or 2 days of K2, and then by the end of next week, it begins their upper grades will start. So they're bringing all of the particular grade levels in at once. So this is their first week. Next week will be their second week of their upper grades. So those are the ones that's the one that has started. And of the others, are there any other ones that started, Louis?
No.
No.
Because right now, I'd be curious what other districts, especially K-8, if they've gone to in-person instruction, to just kind of see what that area is looking like, you know, if they're seeing an upward trend or not.
Right, and so we are monitoring and then, you know, to see what it may mean for us. So thank you for asking.
I believe the Maricopa County Department of Health just opened their, I think it was their, I think they call it like a breakout dashboard or something like that. If there is a sudden outbreak of COVID-like illnesses within a particular area, I believe they just opened up a dashboard for that this week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to the executive session. Do we have a motion to recess?
Yeah, I'll move to recess into executive session.
I think we need to read why we're going into executive session.
Madam President, members of the board, at this time, the governing board will consider voting to recess the regular meeting in order to convene to executive session for the following purpose. In accordance with ARS 3843103A3 and ARS 3843103A7, for the purpose of discussion and/or consultation for legal advice with the attorney of the public regarding the sale and/or lease of district real property.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
I'm going to circle back around to Mrs. Smith.
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are in recess.
Sarah, are you still on the phone?
I am.
You're going to want to hang up, and then they're going to call you from the executive conference room.
Okay.
And then when they're done, when you're done with the executive session, then I'm going to call you back on this extension that you're connected to right now.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Please leave your message for
Hello?
Hi, Sarah, this is Tom Clark again. You're back in the boardroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, when I was listening to the beginning part of the meeting, it was very hard for me to understand what anyone was saying. You know, I mean, I could hear, oh, whatever, 6%, maybe I'm trying to guess what they're saying. But, if I listen to the YouTube video, I can understand what they're saying.
Okay. Well, we have kind of a
delay.
Well, no, it's what we're using is a speakerphone and a microphone together, so that may be part of why you're having difficulty. But I'll see what I can do to increase the volume in the boardroom and see if that helps.
I mean, the volume was really high. It's just the clarity was, really bad.
Okay. All right. I will see what we can do volume-wise to raise it up for you.
Okay. Aye.
Aye. We are reconvened. I'd like to remind everyone to please speak into your microphones so that all of our listeners and board member Smith can hear us okay. We are now at call to the public. We do have one email. This email came in after the last board meeting, and it reads, hello, I would like to first thank the board for working until the late hours to get through a long agenda. However, I am concerned as to why two of the board members were not wearing masks during these times. As an older person, a person with asthma, I am already concerned about my health risks when I have to teach face-to-face. As I see the two board members not wearing their masks, it makes me wonder if I will have to worry about that when I return to work in person. We should see a good example take place in our board meetings, so it would follow through with our staff for all school sites. I have heard many health experts, including my own asthma doctor, who has explained wearing a mask does not make breathing harder for a person. I hope that this will not be an issue when I return to work in person. Thank you, Carmen Ortiz.
Can I speak to that? I don't mean any disrespect, and this isn't a battle that I'm going to climb up a hill for, but the last conversation that we had as handling the board meetings, the fact that we were over 6 feet apart, we were doing the 10 feet of
Okay. Moving on,
Can I speak to it also?
please.
I was under the understanding, because of the proclamation, that it says in most of the proclamations, especially even the city of Glendale, this is what it says. It says that there are some exceptions, and it says meetings were an exception if there are less than 10 people. And in our board meetings, we have less than 10 people. And it says, other exceptions can be for medical reasons. And, when I learn about things, we can even ask what the medical reasons are. And then the other thing is, public meetings, it says, pursuant to, your open meeting laws, it says if you have less, than 10 people, and if you're distanced, that could be an exception. And I think, that I think, Ms. Bartels, made the same comment that, that we wouldn't go into schools without masks on. But I don't see what the problem is with, going to a public meeting. I see city council, I see our mayor, all the way, through all political people, that they don't wear their masks in public meetings. So that's why masks are not worn during board meetings.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to that as well. I think that we should be setting the example. If we get to the point where our children and our teachers and staff are coming back in, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to set that example. Sitting 6 feet apart or not, we are the ones that are leading this district. I don't go anywhere without a mask. I have someone at home that has a condition that if I get sick and I take it home, he can die. And I'm not willing to do that to my loved ones or to yours. Thank you. Is there any other comments? Moving on, we are at item 4A, consent agenda. Are there any items board members would like pulled? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. We are now at item 5, reports and information items. Oh. We did. I do apologize. I'm apologizing a lot today. We are moving on to item 6A. Mrs. Sagata-Jones.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board. The governing board will discuss and consider taking action to select a member of the board to nominate for the All Arizona School Board Member Award. The All Arizona School Board Member Award is ASBA's highest individual board member honor. This award is bestowed on up to 5 Arizona School Board members who exemplify best practices in boardmanship, understand their roles, and follow through on their responsibilities. The honor is awarded for proven records of active service on the governing board, leadership at a local, state, and federal levels, contributions to ASBA and/or NSBA, demonstrated concern for the district's children, rapport with fellow board members, commitment to boardmanship and training, and support of ASBA and its activities. This award is presented in conjunction with the ASBA-ASA annual conference. The nomination would have to be completed and accepted by the 5 p.m. Friday, October 16th deadline set by ASBA and ASA. You would have to make a recommendation for the nomination, then you would have to determine what that nomination was going to be and bring it back for the board to approve.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I do. I have some. I wanted to nominate Ms. Bartels because I feel like she possesses the things that were listed in the application process. That if you look through it, or I guess the nomination process. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Can I decline that? And I'm thankful that you're wanting to nominate me, but when I read all of that stuff, I'm like, I don't feel I'm at that point. But seeing what is all listed, I think that's a goal for each and every one of us to start working towards.
Well, you can be the way you are and not feel like it, but when I read it's like your terms and it said describe nominees' leadership, such as, board president or district committees. You've, been a board president. That was C. And B, it says describe your community, state, and national positions. You've, definitely served on ASBA committees, and, you serve all through the district. It says your visibility, you're always out with the Kiwanis, and you're out with, doing the Lego League and multiple schools and volunteering. And then, so I still, and then it says your commitment to leadership, you earned your, your gold star, that's, so I mean, and there wasn't anything in here that couldn't, be filled in nicely.
Mrs. Bartels, this is up to you, if you accept the nomination.
I feel like I'm being.
I can't understand.
I feel like I'm being pious.
Well, what happened is you would have to, the board will have to determine how they're going to complete this document, the nomination, then you would need to bring it back for approval.
So if it's consensus of the board, I won't stop you, but that's just not my nature anyways to go for something like that.
So is there a motion to officially nominate Mrs. Bartels?
I will motion to officially nominate.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
I reluctantly.
Mrs. Wilson? Aye. Chair votes aye. You are officially nominated.
Well,
You're going,
No,
not yet.
we are.
So you're going to have to determine how you're going to complete this nomination form, and then you're going to need to bring it back to the next board meeting, then to vote on it that way.
So would we be submitting that to Ms. Powell?
You could do that if you wanted. Everybody could submit what they felt and then submit it, and she can compile it, and then we would have to bring it back for a discussion and bring it back for a vote to take an action item.
Okay.
So if we brought it to Ms. Powell, when would you need that back?
We would have to post it by October 2nd is when it would have to be posted to be on the next board agenda.
Okay.
So, Ms. Powell, when would you like it back? September 30th, if you can get that to her.
Next
And then that way she can compile it, get it ready, and then be ready to go out with the agenda for the next board meeting.
Okay.
So who is going to be responsible for essentially filling out these forms?
Each of you,
Each of us is going to do our own copy?
right?
Okay.
And then it'd have to be compiled, and then we'll have to come back and you'll have to discuss it or agree with it, and then submit it at that time.
Okay.
It's just one nomination, right?
She'll wordsmith it.
Oh, I can
Not right
wordsmith
now.
with the best of them.
Okay.
Believe you me.
So we have work to do by 9:30. Have everything back to Liz, and we can move on to item 6B.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, it is recommended the governing board approve the second reading and adoption of revised policies, ACA sexual harassment, ACAA Title IX sexual harassment, new GCOE or is that it? Yeah, GCQE, retirement of professional staff members, GDQC, retirement of support staff members, IHA, basic instructional programs, and KB, parent involvement in education as presented.
Did anybody have any questions or discussion on these policy revisions?
I do. So on item KB, which is the parental one, I'm scrolling down, sorry. There was that area that was underneath, like the legal references, the last time we were there, that, you know, said optional reading, and this time it's not in blue because it's in black because it's a second reading. So, so I guess under the blue right now, if you guys have it, it says the district plan under this policy may also include, and I'm just wondering if I still want, as of last meeting, do we discuss every item underneath this? Is this law? Is it not law? Does it mean that maybe or maybe not something's going to happen? You know, in the next paragraph it says, you know, like resumes, and then there's, I think, going through the law conference, like in B it says requests to come to the board. I think that's law under B, but those are my questions. Like, is this law, or is this something that we need to just bring back and go through each item, you know, go through whatever A through K, and then talk about, you know, the next paragraph, A and B?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith, I'm not sure where you are. It's difficult to understand through the phone which section you're talking about.
Are you
So
on
this is
Page 35 of that.
policy
3 of 5?
K. Is Ms. Bartel speaking?
Yeah, what is your, what was the purpose as to why you want to go through each one of these?
I just can't understand. This is not working for me.
Okay, I would think that at this point, if you have more questions, this is the second reading, you could probably read through them and send an email to Mrs. Sagata Jones.
So just to be clear, are we on KB?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. So it is my understanding, and Sarah, if you can hear me, I'll try and speak a little bit better into the mic here. It is my understanding that her question is that area in black, that the district plan under this policy may also include, that maybe lacks clarification as to whether or not the district policy actually includes those items, as opposed to just recommended inclusion. And I'm looking at it, it says page 3 of 5 under KB. I don't know if that's the point you're trying to make, Sarah.
That's
yeah, that's part of it. Is this something that we need to say it's going to happen, or it may happen? There's lots of questions down there.
Well, I think doesn't it say the district plan under this policy may
include.
also include, so that that word may is in there already. And I kind of agree with Ms. Pimentel. I think, if you have questions regarding this, that maybe you could have a discussion with Mrs. Sagata Jones.
Currently, the items on there, under there, that say may also include A through all the way through the second page, that has already been approved as policy.
Okay.
That's already approved. That's what you approved before.
Not you, yeah.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this second reading for the policy revision.
I motion to approve the second reading of the policies presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, how do you vote?
I'm voting no.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. We are on item 7B. I'm sorry. We are on item 7A.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, the governing board will discuss board meeting procedures, including handling of call to public and reopening meetings for in-person attendance.
Mrs. Smith?
In this section right here, I would like it if we could, one, bring back the mitigation discussion, and if we could bring back the regulations, GB, the R, because that one needs some corrections, and then that way we can discuss the public meeting and math and have it, somewhere. And then my other question was, when are we going to open it up to more than 10 people?
Madam President, members of the board, I think the item is dealing with meeting procedures, including handling of call to the public and reopening meetings for in-person. So let's address that. And if there's items that need to be brought back to another board meeting, then let's address that when we do future agenda items. But right now, it is board meeting procedures, including handling of call to the public and reopening meetings for in-person attendance.
Okay, so let's open this up for discussion to everybody. Does anybody have anything to discuss with anything that's listed specifically with this item?
So the discussion is to surround whether we want to open up our board meetings to more than 10, and that would allow a person to come in that wants to do a call to the public. Is that correct?
That was the request, yes.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if, eventually, but I don't know if like for the next board meeting, if I would be comfortable with having, if you say more than 10, how many are we talking about?
Well, you have to look at capacity. Right now, we're still 6 feet apart, so the setup is still this. So if you look where we're at now, and you're doing 6 feet apart, my guess is you could get maybe 15 to 20, maybe, into the meeting. And then you would have to determine who you're going to let in.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm there yet. That's the part where determining who you would let in, I think, would be a problem. I'm thinking about it.
I'm very comfortable the way we have things right now. With the call to the public that we've had tonight and in the previous month and a half, it's been about making sure we are staying distant, to make sure the safety of our staff, our students, and frankly, I'm concerned with the safety of all of us in this room already. I am not comfortable having extra people, and again, how do we say who does come in? We don't have a lot of call to the public, and I don't think that there's been any complaints about the way we are conducting the call to the public.
I really don't have any objection to allowing a limited number of people in. As a board and board meetings that we've already had presenters come in. Just earlier we had the lady who spoke to us during executive session. We've had other presenters come in, and we were able to space them out. As long as there's a limit as to how many people you allow in, I think the big question is, how do you determine what that limit is? And is there like a first come first serve type situation is what I would assume. But I really can't see us delaying what's going to be inevitable if, first of all the district staff is back here already. I can't really place myself that much, that much apart from people who are already working in the offices next to each other, practicing social distancing, using hand sanitizer. As long as we can carry that on to the people that show up, you have to wear a mask. You have to sanitize before you come in. You have to, all those things that the district personnel are already doing. And then when you look at our target date of October 19th, and judging by the metrics that were presented earlier, it looks like we're going to hit that. Barring a huge outbreak, I don't see anything stopping us right now from reopening some of these schools in 3 weeks in some hybrid model. How much longer can we delay the inevitable of having a public meeting public, where the public can actually show up? That being said, this works, and right now there hasn't been a whole lot of calls to the public, but you lose something. I mean, we had a call to the public that we had today that was already 2 weeks behind. And that's not the first time that's happened where we've gotten called to the public late, that by various technological snafus or whatever, we didn't get a call to the public until 2 weeks after that they originally submitted it. I think we owe it to the public to offer that opportunity to come in here and speak. Granted, in the same setup, but I'm okay with it.
I don't see anybody banging down the door wanting to come into our board meeting. With that said, I think if the public really did want to come in, they would say something. And we haven't heard anything from anybody as to not liking the way we're running things now. I would just like to hold off just a little while longer and make that decision after we open on the 19th and maybe revisit this again.
Madam President, members of the board, if I may, I just wanted to address I believe we've had technical difficulty the first time when we received the call to public, but today's call to public isn't 2 weeks behind because of any delay. That was not submitted until after 10 o'clock after the board meeting had occurred. So that would have only naturally occurred at that time. So, and some of them that we have occurred may appear to be 2 weeks late if it was technical, but some of them come in and we have to wait until we have a board meeting. It makes it a little bit difficult. It looks like they're being delayed because they're either before or after the board meeting, but other than the ones that we didn't get read because of a technical situation. But other than that, as soon as we receive them, we're sharing those, but it has to be when the board is meeting. So it looks like sometimes it's not being shared timely, but it has, because it would have not been shown unless there was a board meeting.
Well, and even prior to all of this starting, the only call to the public would have been at an actual meeting. So, we're actually giving people the opportunity to send information in ahead of time.
That is correct, Madam. I'm sorry, Ms. Bartels, that is correct.
It's the mask.
And just for clarification, this email did come in after the board meeting at 10:42 p.m. Is there any other discussion about, let's continue with this one with call to the public. Is there any other discussion about this subject?
I think as long as, even if we do get to a point where we're starting to allow people in, even if it's at a minimal amount, we still need to keep the email option available if we, once we get to that point.
Agreed, because I know people still won't be comfortable, and I think that's okay. Would you be comfortable with looking at this again as a further discussion after we start? Mm-hmm. When we start?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And what about reopening the meetings for in-person attendance? Would that go along with the same thing for everybody?
Mm-hmm. I think it's the same question when you open, because then your call to publics could come and be in person. So.
Okay. Last chance. Any other discussion on this item?
I would like to have the board take a quick look at the norms. Again, maybe if we could just look at these every now and then, but under the first section, number three, where it says adhere to established lines of communication, And then again, under the governing board collective commitments, number 15, defer to the superintendent for clarification on agenda items. I think if you have a lot of questions regarding one item, that maybe those questions can be asked in advance. And if there is something that you think the public really needs to know, that of course you could bring that back up again at the meeting. But I think for the most part, when you have a lot of questions, that calling the superintendent or whoever and getting those answered is basically what I think is being asked of the board. And I think I'm trying to find that really quick. I can't find it, so never mind. At any rate, so that was the only comment that I had about the norms. But I think if we revisit the norms every now and then, it helps to clarify what our purpose is.
Thank you for that. I'm glad you brought that up.
And
Thank
Mike's
you.
our newest member, so this is, when you have a change, they always should be revisited anyways.
Absolutely. Study it. You have a quiz next time.
So noted. Thank you.
We should all have a quiz. Okay, any other discussion on 7A?
So I just want to, when are we going to touch on this again? I mean, are we going to touch on this the week before fall break or after schools reopen?
So I think we want to bring it back as a discussion item after schools open.
Okay.
Is that the consensus of the board?
Well, and I think the district will have a better view of what that reality, which would also translate into our reality here on that kind of situation.
Okay. If there is no further discussion, we can move on to item 7B.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, the governing board members and administrators will share information and learning from the Arizona School Boards Association Law Conference.
Okay, who attended? Mrs. Bartels?
Yeah, that was a very different experience, to say the least. The COVID day dealt with a lot of things, and the reality is, even during the conference, it's a very fluid situation. Trying to address legal concerns, both for students, staff, community, some of the challenges, the digital divide. But then even with that, you still have students that even if they have all the access in the world to technology, they're not going to do as good as in person. So you have the reverse there for those children. So that was more recap of everything that we've been going through for the last 6 months. I have to say, several of the presenters, though, the next day and a half, it was a stark reminder that we all need to be willing to have conversations before we jump to conclusions. And the reason I say that is because every person that spoke, you got a sense of the background that they grew up in, which helped them see in a different viewpoint. You had one presenter who was African American, but she had, the parents that were biracial family. She didn't talk black and white at home at the dinner table. So when classmates asked her, about that, it was just very confusing to her, because nobody talks that way generally in their household, in their family, especially if they have a multiracial background. You had another presenter that talked about he really didn't understand discrimination until he opened his practice. And it was, the women in his law office, or the men of, anybody of a different background. Then he saw the prejudice. And he always thought he was going to be the one because he was so young. Nobody's going to hire him. So it was very enlightening to, hear multiple people say, we need to open up dialogue before we jump to conclusions on anybody's viewpoint, because my lens is different than Ms. Wilson's, and is different than Ms. Pimentel's, and then is different than Ms. Sagata-Jones. And we can avoid a lot of fires if we're just willing to communicate.
Thank you. Sounds like you got some good information. Mrs. Smith, did you attend?
I did attend, and I think one of the biggest takeaways that I took from the conference had to deal with FERPA and HIPAA, dealing with the privacy of students and staff, and I thought it was very timely to listen to those discussions, because there are things that we have to be careful of, especially, with online teaching. Examples of, anything that would be in a student record, you can't discuss online, so, an example could be, a teacher's teaching and saying, oh, Johnny, I'm like, you got a 45 on that test, and, or you have a 0 because you didn't turn, something in. Those would be, confidential things, and those are the same things, that would have happened in class. You can't, say online either. And then you also have to think about, who's in the background, and we just, we have to be very careful with all those things. And then, FERPA and HIPAA are kind of, correlated now with COVID. Like if someone has a health issue, or if someone even comes down, with COVID, I'm like, you can't share who had it, or which, you can just say a child, came across it, and, and that's been, a lot of questions that, that we've seen. It's like, are you going to tell us if this staff member or this student, has come down, with COVID? You can't say that because it's against the law. And so, those are just some things to think about, when, we're going about and, and we have questions, because there are privacy laws.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, if I may, I did also attend, but I'm more than happy to send to you, all the governing board, the PowerPoint, so that you have that information and you can read it at your time.
Nice. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any comments, discussion? All right, moving on to item 8A. Well, item 8, future meetings and events.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board. So we believe on October 8th, the AFR will not be ready. Mr. Bergen, you want to address why?
Madam President. Madam President.
Here, you want me to toss this one?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Sagata Jones, because of the challenges with COVID-19, that's posed challenges, I think, statewide in various facets of a school district's operations. That also includes various revisions from the Auditor General's office on those forms. And so they're still working on making some of those revisions. So if my memory serves me correctly, I believe that was extended to November 20th. So there's time to get it completed, but the forms aren't ready, and that's really the short version of that explanation, is that there's been continual changes to those documents, and still they're not available as of yet with the correct calculations and to the forms.
So then we'll just move that down to November 12th, or it could go into December at this point. We don't know. Fundraiser activity requests, in case we have those, and then the ASBA delegate assembly voting directions. We'll have to do that. That hasn't been assigned. Also, we need to think about where we are with the strategic plan and those phases that we presented at the last governing board, and we'll bring that back for discussion items as well. So that would be it for October 8th, as we know it at this time.
Does anybody? Go ahead.
I think Ms. Smith wanted those, the dress regulations brought back for discussion.
I did. I want a regulation GBGBR brought back.
GBDR, Ms. Smith?
GB, and then that one.
Since it's not real clear, it's kind of muffled on our end.
I think
Could
I
you
have it,
email
yeah.
that, please?
Don't know what you said.
We got it. We got it. Thank you.
Got it.
We got it.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add to the agenda or any questions about what's on there?
Yeah, could we maybe just really quick, the next meeting, have a quick discussion about sharing information from conferences that we attend?
Yes.
And then I have something. On October 22nd, we have the annual board self-evaluation. It's due October 30th. Can we suspend that?
Put it on the agenda for discussion?
We can, yeah. If we can put that on for discussion on the 8th to see if we can suspend that since we haven't done anything with that. This year's been a little bit wonky.
We'll move a discussion up to October 8th, and then we'll let you know what can and cannot be done. Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else? We are now at item 9, summary of current events.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, just real quick. This week, as we had mentioned before in the updates and at the board meeting, that National Guard had reached out to us to help us to do some things. And so this week, they were here on Tuesday, and they trained our nurses. And they really were very complimentary of our nurses. They've been training nurses across the state, and they complimented our nurses on, there is anxiety, obviously, about this, but they were very pleased with how our nurses were doing what they've been trained to do so far just through our PPE. And we were happy to have National Guard here, and we hope that helped our nurses answer any questions that they may have as well. And so that was nice that they were here. Before they said they were going to be able to help us install the plexiglass in our offices. Once we filled out the paperwork, the National Guard, it had to be submitted to FEMA. And FEMA said that National Guard, that was not something they could do. So we do have our own structures in place that will make sure the plexiglass is installed. But we were happy that they were able to come out and do our training and help us with some things like that. Also, we did the food distribution. It's just been going very well for us, and we're happy we can do that with our families. The digital divide, I mentioned that before, and that's with superintendents and Cox and Chamber of Commerce really trying to do what we can to get internet access to our families. So still working with them on that. We were also a great week for us. Tortoise and Hare came, and you saw me tweet about that. They donated 150 pairs of shoes to our students that we'll get out, and then they were going to bring another 150 as well, so we're happy for that donation. Also, we have over 1,000 kindergarten books that are being donated from 2 local authors for our students, so we were happy about that. And then we can continue this past week. Smith and I were locations for COVID testing, and then the first Saturday in October, Discovery will be a location for COVID testing. So we're partnering again with the City of Glendale to help get testing done in our community. So that pretty much wraps it up for this week.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to Ms. Agata Jones on her award this week, that inaugural Karen Warner Women in Leadership Award. And I think that's a very outstanding recognition for you, and you're a great leader. And so congratulations again.
Thank you, Board Member Smith. Truly humbled to receive such an honor. Totally did not know or caught off guard. Still speechless about that. As I have said, for my name to be in the same sentence with Carolyn Warner is just unbelievable for me. I know when I came to Arizona, as a young teacher, Carolyn Warner was somebody that I always admired, her tireless commitment to education and what she did for leadership, especially women in leadership positions. I've always admired her, so it touches home to me dearly. I'm quite honored and humbled by it, but I do want to say that, yes, I did receive that award, but I could not receive such awards or accolades without this district, the governing board, our administrators, our teachers, our parents, and our students, with me every day. You allow me to do what I can do with my team, and I truly appreciate that. So yes, I did accept that award. I got that award, but only because just a great place GSD is. So I'm so happy to be here. I did not know that it also came with $1,000 to the district. So that's also good news. They also did call me Dr. Cindy Sagata-Jones. I corrected that afterwards, but I then thought, well, maybe I got an honorary doctorate. So I got $1,000 for the district, and I saved a lot on school loans because now I have an honorary doctorate. But I don't think that's what that meant, but I'm going to pretend it did. And so, but again, thank you so much. And your leadership qualities really is about who you surround yourself with. And I learned very quickly in my career that if I didn't know how to do something, I better hire somebody that did know how to do it. And again, thank you to GSD. It's because of you I'm recognized, and I truly appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, do you have anything else?
I'm done.
Okay, Mr. Martinez.
I would just like to echo Mrs. Smith. Congratulations to Ms. Sagata-Jones. And I will absolutely one-up you. You said that your success and the success of the district very much depends on the people that you surround yourself with. But it also starts with yourself. And I'm going to put on a different hat right now. So I'm going to put on my Gusto Foundation hat right now. Last week after the board meeting, Ms. Sagata-Jones presented the Gusto Foundation with the check that was earlier approved for the one-time donation for her raise for the fiscal year. I won't tell you how much it was, but I can tell you it was several $1,000s. And I can tell you that all those little niceties that the foundation is able to purchase, things like the Visa gift cards we gave away at the welcome back thing, those all started with her. And without her, she is by far our #1 donor for the foundation. And without her, that foundation wouldn't exist, and it wouldn't be able to do the things that it does. So again, it's not only the people that you surround yourself with, it's the people that you are. So thank you very much for your dedication to the district. And I'd just like to end one last thank you to all the teachers and staff. I know we did testing. Everyone did testing last week and this week. I had one kid do the Canvas testing last week and some this week, and my other kid did the testing with the distance learning this week. Everything seemed to go smooth. I can't tell you whether they did really good or not because I wasn't peeking in at all. I just made sure they weren't asleep on the camera, and that was the extent of my parental duties. So thank you very much. I hope it all went as well as it looked from my end as the parent. I think everything seemed to turn out well, and they finished the day without having that. It seemed like there was less stress involved in being able to do those testing online than it was when we were in class. So thank you very much for a job well done. That's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Bartels.
Okay, ditto on the first two. I'd also like to, so, parents are sending pictures in to be shared. Just a little PSA. If you can, do yourself a favor and get a flu shot. That will... Hopefully, if you do run into the flu and you don't get sick from that, then you do get sick, then you at least have a better, clearer picture of what's going on. But also, it's more important that we don't overwhelm the medical system again, like we did just a couple months ago.
Thank you. Mrs. Wilson.
Well, again, yes, ditto. But I do want to personally congratulate Mrs. Sagata-Jones on her leadership award. It's because of your leadership that we are so successful and that we're headed in the right direction in GESD, even among the strange COVID presence that we've had. Not too much else, just please continue to wear your masks. I have been in the grocery stores recently, and I noticed that there's people are getting a little lax in wearing. There's quite a few more people without them that there were before, so we don't want an uptick, especially with our children returning to school on the 19th. I should say that's a target date. I won't say it's for sure, but we certainly hope that the positivity rate continues to stay low so we can do that. I know the kids are anxious to go back, but we want to make sure that the students and the staff stay safe. So, that's it.
Thank you. Ditto, but again, as Mrs. Wilson said, congratulations. Well earned, well deserved, and you represent us well. We're lucky to have you. And to Mrs. Bartel's point, I got my shot yesterday. So to everybody, please be safe, be healthy. Thank you for being here. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Everybody have a great evening. Be safe.